Nancy Pelosi is getting sued in the Supreme Court of the United States. We can see the people bringing the lawsuit are representatives. You know them, Thomas Massie and this woman, Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're joined by Ralph Norman, three people who are filing a lawsuit, boom, against this woman. Honorable Nancy Pelosi, William J. Walker, and other people in their official capacities. And this is a petition for a writ of certiorari at the Supreme Court of the United States. And we like Thomas Massie's work here. He does some good stuff. And he is very upset that Nancy tried to strip them of their congressional pay. And so let's take a look at what's happening here. Is Congress immune from this? Here are the questions that are presented. They say, one, whether speech or debate immunity precludes claims by Congresspeople against other Congresspeople over pay. And this is when Nancy tried to strip their pay. So they're suing her. Whether reductions of members' compensation violate the 27th Amendment, where such reductions occur without an intervening election, and whether Articles 6 and 7 are violated when Nancy Pelosi acts accordingly. And so it's interesting to see that she's on the receiving end of this. So you see Thomas Massie, in his individual and official capacities, is joined by Marjorie Taylor Greene and others. They are petitioning the Supreme Court up on from the Court of Appeals. They say this court has jurisdiction, and here is what they say when they start. Writing to SCOTUS, Your Honors, one of the few provisions of the Constitution with no interpretation, we got no clarity on this, is the 27th Amendment. Now, the practical nature of the Anti-Corruption Amendment renders the occurrence of a circuit split on the matter impossible. But this measure, which was designed to ensure the independence of members of Congress, must have effect. Now, this case involves an attempt to vary the pay of members of Congress without an intervening election because of their decision to act in accordance with the values of the majority of their constituency. All right, so Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene, they do something, and Pelosi penalizes them with pay. After the 2020 election, the House of Representatives imposed a rule. Here, one directed at mask enforcement, right? Put your mask on, with an automatic pay deduction as its sole enforcement mechanism. Petitioners are three members of Congress who on May 18th, May 19th, entered a House floor without masks on. And as a consequence, Pelosi removed $500 from their pay. So Congress people sued. They said, you can't take our money away, seeking review of whether they violated the 27th Amendment to the Constitution. Now they say we seek a review of these issues. Are they allowed to do this? As noted, they say that there were pay deductions for refusing to wear a mask. Now, the refusal to wear a mask did not result in any disruption of congressional business, but ultimately administrative cases were filed and open. Now, plaintiffs, Massie and Marjorie, they appealed these fines to the House Ethics Committee, but in votes split among party lines, the committee denied the appeal. No surprise there. Now, Massie received a deduction of the fine. The full amount of the fine he got penalized was $500. The remaining people got correspondence and said, we lost our money too. So what happened is Massie and Marjorie sued. Now, on a motion to dismiss, the court must do certain things. And so here we're at the Supreme Court. They say, all right, SCOTUS, the court should resolve the extent of speech or debate immunity to ensure that this type of stuff doesn't happen. Saying here, we've gone through some case law, and we know that there's a difference between a censure, a reprimand, and there's been some other opinions on how all this should work. Now, we think this is important. This is of pressing importance because Congress has already attempted to impose financial punishment among a member of Congress for engaging in constituency that represents her district. For example, Representative Anna Paulina Luna introduced a privileged resolution forcing a vote not only on the censure of Representative Adam Pencilneck Schiff, but also a fine of $16 million for his statements about Donald Trump. Now, Congress ultimately rejected the fine, but the consciousness this case has raised is concerning. What happens if Luna and her congressional fine passes? So if Pelosi can take $500 away because you don't wear your mask, can Luna censor you $16 million? I mean, is this the track that we're on? Let's see. The decision below meets criteria for why the Supreme Court should hear this. And they say that this resolution plainly violates the 27th Amendment. The 27th Amendment reads as follows. It says, no law varying the compensation for the services of senators and representatives shall take effect until an election of the House of Representatives shall have intervened. The 27th Amendment. You can't vary our pay without an election. Congress doesn't like it when you touch their money. A primary purpose of the 27th Amendment is to prevent the reduction of congressional salaries. We know that this could be misused, and it could be used to penalize the independence of the legislature. Now, while the 27th Amendment is commonly, but wrongly today, thought of merely as a limitation on Congress and their ability to vote itself a pay raise, right? Like they're not going to vote themselves a raise in the current session, but they could vote it for the next session. Now, ignoring this historical reality, they're saying there's still ambiguity here. It's being interpreted to actually take our money away. In addition to concerns about pay increases, the founders were greatly concerned about diminishing congressional pay, which could prevent qualified men and women from joining the entity. Similarly, they look through other history. They say from 1774 until the Constitution's ratification in 1789, and during the Continental Congresses, they say, and into the period where the Articles of Confederation were created, state legislatures that were responsible for paying the delegates used that leverage to punish those delegates for ignoring the state interests. So if you don't go and do what we say, like you don't get your daily stipend, you're on your own. And so the new national legislature rethought through a lot of this, and they give us a lot of history here from Virginia and proposed restraints in the Constitution, more stuff from Alexander Hamilton, written in 1788. Another House resolution was passed, and so a lot of law here. But they say, as we get further, John Quincy Adams was even concerned about this. And so here, the House is designed to be the people's chamber, and financial retaliation against members of Congress is a tool by which their independence can be degraded. And so it's crucial that the 27th Amendment is not another means, protects us against another means of retaliation from weird lunatic speakers of the House like Pelosi. And there will never be a circuit split on this matter, let alone when the 27th Amendment violation has occurred. And so this court needs to address this, utilizing its supervisory authority here. And so the decision meets several criteria for a grant of certiorari. And the question is, can the Speaker of the House reduce somebody's pay as a penalty, or can Congress hit them with fines in the same district, in the same legislative session? So the opinions below, they say the 27th Amendment is dead letter if we follow this currently. But for more than 220 years, the judiciary has not flinched from its role to say what the law is. So if you allow the lower courts to hollow out the 27th Amendment, then the law's dead, and we don't want dead laws on the books. So Supreme Court, you need to please grant petition and answer the three questions. Can Congress people vary their pay, penalizing each other? $16 million fines, $500 mask violations, and so on. Are they appropriate? Massie and Marjorie want to know. Submitted to the Supreme Court through Christopher Wiest, Thomas Bruins, Aaron Seary, lawyers for the Congress people. So interesting. We'll see if it goes anywhere. If SCOTUS accepts it, of course, they can always reject it. But it is really, I think, more about the precedent that it establishes. Because what happens if the Democrats get back in control? What if they want to fine the Republicans $1 gazillion, which I'm sure will happen sooner rather than later. So it's an interesting lawsuit up at the Supreme Court from our friends Massie and Green. We'll see where it goes. If court accepts it, could get interesting. We'll continue to cover, my friends. Thank you for subscribing and visiting us at robertgovea.com. Wherever it is you're watching this, we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.